Hey folks, how you going? Well, 2 hours of opposition debate, and in 2 hours not a single part of the bill that was identified and rejected by a logical argument. And that really, I think, sums up what New Zealanders see today. So you've got a huge amount of emotion, even name-calling, prejudice, but where are the people saying, no, we don't think the Parliament should make laws, we don't think the Crown should uphold people's rights equally, including Māori, and we don't think everybody should be equal before the law. We just didn't see that, and that's why I'm convinced that this bill or something like it will inevitably prevail, because the simple fact is all Kiwis are equal. It's only a matter of time. People getting over their overreaction and actually asking themselves, what exactly is it in this bill that I object to? And while only one member of the opposition actually referred to anything that is written in the bill, and that was Duncan Webb, who was a bit hit and miss, I think many of them actually said things that if they were to read the bill, then many of their statements about people being equal would lead them to support it.
Isn't it fair to say that there has in fact been a national conversation and it just got voted on and your party lost?
In the end, what prevails is strong logical arguments, and the argument we put up that everybody should have equal rights, that Parliament should have the full right to make laws, that all people should be treated equally before those laws, that argument has not been attacked or even mentioned by most of the people opposed to it. So I can understand they're having a bit of an allergic reaction and they don't like the idea, because frankly when you're accustomed to privilege, equality can seem like oppression. However, I believe that this basic idea will prevail unless someone's got a better argument against it. We didn't hear any in 2 hours today.
You've been holding out hope that your coalition partners in particular would change their minds about their support or lack thereof for the bill. How did it feel when that hope finally extinguished?
Oh, look, I always have hope for my coalition partners, but you know, sometimes they're not as reliable as you hope for. At the end of the day, it's up to the people to judge. Not as my feelings are fine, but the people to judge who had the courage to put an uneasy issue on the agenda that no one else could actually explain what was wrong with it, and who ducked the issue. I think people will look at that and make up their own minds.
Practically, what do you do now? You obviously have not changed your mind on this, so how do you advise?
No, because no one's given me a reason to change my mind, which is amazing in 2 hours of debate. What I would say is that we are going to have another strategy and another tactic. It may be very similar to what we've done, it may be identical, or it may be a bit different. But we're grateful for the people that have walked with us on this journey so far. We'll never give up on equal rights, and the next steps we take on this journey will be clear to people before the election so they can make up their mind if they want to jump on the journey too.
You haven't made up your mind yet about what you're going to do?
Well, I haven't made up my mind to tell everyone what we're going to do, but we will do that as the next election approaches.
Will you do something with the Bill of Rights?
Look, that is a possibility. I mean, for the purpose of this conversation, putting the same thing right back is a possibility, amending another law is a possibility. There are lots of options.
So if this is such an important issue, why not just tell people explicitly what you are considering, so people can fully understand that and think about it, and then either make a decision, an educated decision, whether to support or not?
Well, that's exactly what we intend to do before the next election, but we realise that people actually probably want to focus on a few other things, but they will come back to this issue because it is one of the defining issues of New Zealand. Does our treaty unite us with equal rights or divide us as a partnership between races? That question hasn't gone away. People say they can bury the bill. They can't bury that question. Are all Kiwis equal?
Can you provide any details regarding, the amount of lobbying attempts that you did of the Prime Minister and Winston Peters regarding trying to get them on side with your bill?
Yeah, I put it to them that they don't actually have a reason to oppose the bill, so maybe they should support it. For whatever reason, they're not prepared to do that. But ultimately, it's up to the people to judge who had the bravery, the clarity and the patriotism to put an uneasy issue on the agenda and who didn't.
How many of those conversations did you have though? How many times did you go to them? Could you put any kind of numerical figure on it?
Look, unfortunately I don't keep a diary, but...
You keep a ministerial diary.
Well, technically I don't, but
Well, was it-
someone publishes my calendar for you to go to ferret through periodically. But those sorts of conversations would actually not be ministerial, but political.
Was it something? I think the kind of the point of it is, was it something that you were continuing to talk about with the two leaders up until the second reading, or was it something that you'd already had discussions about and you just left them to it?
Well, put it this way: different people require different approaches. Some people don't want to be harangued all the time, so I don't. Other people you can talk to more often.
So what did you do in this case with Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and Winston Peters?
Well, I had the opportunity. I said there's a chance you could support the bill.
Did you do that? Did you hold those discussions up until the second reading?
If you call that a discussion, then yeah.
Is it fair to say that you will campaign on this again, though, and that if history repeats itself and you are at the negotiating table with National after the 2026 election, this and still calling for a referendum would be back on the table again?
Look, universal human rights are a non-negotiable for ACT. The vehicle, that'll come out and people will know what we're talking about before they vote at the election.
So you don't, I guess, kind of look back in hindsight about how you went into the coalition negotiations and what you got, and the fact that National and New Zealand First had made a decision right from the outset that they weren't going to vote for it at second reading. You don't have any regrets about that? You don't think maybe you could have done it differently?
No, because politics is a process and it's the people who judge. The people that will judge this process will be asking two things. Number one, why did people oppose this bill? What were their arguments? They haven't made any. And number two, who was prepared to have the bravery, the clarity and the patriotism to put an uneasy issue on the table? And I think that is the thing that people will be able to judge for themselves.
Did the Prime Minister ever present an argument against this legislation to you?
Well, if he did, it would be up to him to say what he thought that
When
was,
you
and
remain this,
I wouldn't reveal a confidential conversation, but I didn't find it very
Did
persuasive.
Winston Peters ever present an argument against it?
Yeah, sure.
What was the argument?
Well, again, I'm not going to speak for other people, but I think you can see from his public pronouncements that he doesn't believe there are principles. I think the problem with that is that even the government's review of treaty principles won't actually touch the Treaty of Waitangi Act from where they come, so that they're going to exist, and it won't remove it from all other legislation. There's about 5 acts exempt, and the rest will be reviewed with the help of Te Puni Kokiri, so you can see where that's going.
He does love a referendum, though. I mean, you couldn't persuade him on that alone.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I know he's promoted them in the past. I don't know if he still loves them.
Minister, if
Yeah.
you can just reflect back on the whole process right from the coalition negotiations. It's obviously failed. As you reflect back, what would you do differently?
No, it hasn't failed. What it's done, what it's done is put an uneasy conversation on the table and really force people to come up with objections to the proposals in the bill, and that they haven't been able to do that. That's a big advancement. In terms of what I would do differently, no, I think other people could have done things differently. Like, for example, read the bill. I mean, how many people in that debate actually said, here's a line in the bill and the reason that I disagree with it is this? You simply didn't hear it. And that actually really worries me, to be quite honest. I mean, this is our parliament, and not a single person could say, look, line 3 of this bill I think is really wrong and here's why. Didn't hear it. And that is depressing, to be honest.
What did you make of Willie Jackson calling you a liar for the second time?
Well, again, Willie Jackson says I'm a liar, but he can't say what lie I've told. And it's not just that he's rude, it's post-fact politics. It's emotion over reason. And this is the thing that really worries me. This is why I read out Karl Popper. We seem to be at a point where people think that whatever their feelings are more important than any facts or any logic or any reason. And that I find immensely frustrating, to be honest, but I also believe that reason wins out in the end.
Well, he's saying that you're lying because he actually says that you actually understand the treaty very, very well, and that you are deliberately misinterpreting Articles 2 and 3, and that's why he's calling you a liar.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'll take the compliment. I mean, you've got to take the good with the bad. I do understand the treaty very well. I've read an enormous amount. I've talked to a lot of people about it. But actually, I think that reasonable people can perhaps disagree. That's why we propose a process where Parliament decides on these interpretations rather than the courts and the Waitangi Tribunal. And that's central to this debate. People say, oh, it's a living document. And then I say, okay, I've got something to say about, oh, no, not you. And what they're really saying is that the New Zealand people, no, not you, But if you're a judge or a Waitangi Tribunal panellist or perhaps work in the civil service, you get to decide. Well, that's wrong.
Do you accept that Parliament has decided, in a way, that you've brought this bill to the Parliament, it's gone through the process and the Parliament's actually decided against?
They've decided on this bill at this point in time, but I believe the underlying logic will prevail in the long term, and that's why I'm pretty upbeat for someone whose bill just went down, at 113 to 11 or something.
Have you
So
had
were you
any
expecting
discussions?
this
Sorry?
outcome?
Sorry.
Were you expecting this outcome when the coalition negotiations were agreed?
Well,
18 months ago?
I'm a bit like a Boy Scout. I hope for the best and prepare for the worst. The worst was that our coalition partners weren't prepared to stand up and be counted on this issue and actually vote with the opposition. That's a shame, but that's their choice and other people can judge them.
So has the national conversation gone the way you expected, or have you been surprised by the level of
Well,
opposition?
the level of debate has been a bit depressing if you heard that today. And I just make the simple point. There's not a single person saying, the bill says Parliament has the exclusive right to make laws. I disagree with that because I think there should be some other way and here's what it looks like. I haven't heard that, but I believe that's why in the end the articles in this bill will prevail.
Have you had any preliminary discussions with your coalition partners about what kind of vehicle you might take this issue, what vehicle you'd use on this issue in the 26th election?
No, we haven't started that discussion, but we might do as the election comes closer.
So just to clarify, have you landed on what that vehicle is, but are not telling us, or you haven't yet landed on it and tell us?
Well, I certainly couldn't tell you if I hadn't landed on it. I got a pretty good idea how we'll run it, but I just need to dot a few I's and cross a few T's first.
Mr. Seymour, when did you start thinking about those alternative plans?
I don't know, probably in the last couple of years I've thought about different ways that you could approach this, and one doesn't work, you try another.
There's also, do you not accept at all that there has been a debate here?
Yeah, there's very obviously been a debate. My objection is to the quality of it. And again, I don't see people coming out and saying, this is the part of the bill I disagree with, and these are the reasons why, and here's how New Zealanders would be better off if we did it this way instead of that way. So yeah, there's been a debate, but it's mostly been about feelings and rhetoric.
What about the submission process? Are you unhappy with the quality of submissions that were made, or are you just unhappy with the quality of the 2-hour debate?
Look, I thought that there were some good submissions, but again, I haven't seen that compelling argument. And when I look at the Select Committee report, I mean, maybe it is a failure of MPs that they have not been able to extract the quality out of the submissions and express them. I mean, certainly, I look at the Green Party minority view, it's just a rant.
Before you came into Parliament, you would talk to us a lot about what you thought were issues happening in New Zealand. A lot of your time has been spent on this. Are you not just tempted to let it go?
In my maiden statement, I made it very clear that moving towards the light of liberty so that we can all live with equal rights is one of New Zealand's greatest achievements, and yet, as if we're engaged in some historic shuttle run, we who were first to touch the cone are now rushing back in the opposite direction, or words very much like that. It was in my maiden statement. The light of liberty was an allusion to A.C. Grayling, who categorised or catalogued how New Zealanders and many other people in the West have gradually become freer and more equal over time. This is core work for any free society to explain why equal rights before the law, not only morally right, but actually more likely to get you equal outcomes, which a lot of people in there were talking about as if rights and outcomes are the same thing.
Is one of the options, for the next time around, simply doing this again? Another.
That's one of the options, absolutely on the table. But I think we might do it differently, but it's on the table. Yeah.
We've heard a lot about the 8% support and 90% opposition through submissions. Tens of thousands of those submissions in support were counted as, grouped together and counted as one because of the form submission, both gathered by the ACT Party and by Hobson's Pledge. Would you like to see that done differently, or what are your reflections on how that campaigning was done?
Look, you can make the argument that it was actually about 20 or 30% in favour if you take 50-odd thousand that were counted as one are actually more than, well, they're actually 50,000 or 60,000, whatever you get with 32 and 24 or 56,000. So probably the stats that people bandy about are not accurate. But I also just make the point that we've had this several times before. I mean, I've talked about end-of-life choice, we've talked about abortion law reform. Generally, people come out in big numbers to oppose something. If they see something that looks like it's going to happen, then they won't. And in this case, people came out to oppose it. So, I don't really put a lot of stock in the numbers either way. It's not that I don't respect people's right to submit. I just know that there's different incentives here. And so then I look at, well, what does public support say when you put those three principles to people? About 2 to 1 people come out in favour.
Do you think the parliamentary process has failed here? You say that there wasn't quality submissions, everyone's voted no, you say MPs
No,
give arguments.
I think there were quality submissions. I don't think that MPs made quality speeches today, and I don't think that their minority views, except for, of course, Todd Stevenson's one, were very good.
Process and then the parliamentary vote and debate, has that been a failure?
Look, I think a lot of MPs could have had more facts and fewer feelings and actually said, well, this is what I think about the bill and here's why and here's how I do it differently. It'd be nicer if we heard a bit more of that.
Is it your bill that's broken or is it the system that's broken?
Well, the bill has come out without anyone making any compelling arguments for why those three things shouldn't work. No, I think there's a system. I think that we've got some people who either can't or feel it's not politically advantageous to make more factual arguments, basically.
Something we saw in Te Pāti Māori's minority view, as well as their comments today, was that they believe more education is needed, both for MPs coming into Parliament and also more generally, more education around te tiriti or waitangi and practical
but look,
I'm interested to hear whether you think that there is an argument or for further education.
Can I just say before I answer this, you guys all know how much I love a stand-up, but I actually do have to go after this question. So look, I promise I'm late to meet someone, but look, the other day I was giving a speech in Parliament. And I used a pretty basic term from the economics literature. Can't actually remember what it was. It was like opportunity cost or something. And a Te Pāti Māori MP said, "Oh, you must have made that up." And it's like anyone with a basic knowledge of economics good enough to be an MP should have known what that was. So we could all play the game of saying that you're not educated and you should be forced to know more, but actually I don't think it gets you anywhere. The fact is the people choose their representatives and they get the representation they deserve.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
You watch this space. Thanks guys, see you later. Sorry. Thanks.